Thank you, Julie, for creating this game of this or that sewing edition. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. I'm Tequila B with TruLuv Design, and I've been tagged in this game of this or that sewing edition by Joy Nicole. I was excited when I found out she tagged me because I was already planning to make this video anyway, but when she tagged me, it made it all the more fun. So here we go. Topic number 1, sewing prep. Buying new versus stash busting. I always shop my stash first unless it's a particular fabric that I need for a project and I just don't have it. I never buy fabric based on the project that I'm working on. I just buy it when I see it, if I like it, if I think I need it or could need it. I mean, you see some fabric and the next time you come back, it may not be there. PDFs versus paper patterns. I do prefer paper patterns because they're already assembled and already together. I do have quite a few PDFs though, and it's probably why I haven't made a lot of them because it takes a lot of time. But I prefer paper. Cutting versus tracing patterns. I do cut out my patterns. The only time that I trace them is if it's a pattern that I can use for me and my girls. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and cut that pattern out. Muslin versus just go for it. I'ma just go for it, girl. Unless it's something I think is going to really challenge my skills, then I don't too much do a muslin unless I'm worried about the fit or something like that. But if I do choose to do a muslin, I make sure it's fabric that I'm going to want to wear in the garment. So it's always going to be a wearable muslin if I choose to make a muslin. Topic number 2, fabrics. In-store versus online shopping. I do more online shopping for fabric than I do in-store, I think, or it's probably about 50-50. I like buying mystery bundles from fabric companies. Unless there's something particular I'm looking for, I'm good with a bundle because then I get fabrics that I wouldn't normally pick up or pick out, and most of the time I end up liking them. The only time I really go to the store, I never go to the store with the purpose of buying fabric. It just happens that I'm in the store, I see something I like, and I go ahead and purchase it. Number 2, knits versus wovens. I do prefer my knits. With knits, they are more forgiving. There's a lot less technical things like darts and things like that when you're dealing with knits. Most of the time you don't have to do too many darts, and they're fairly easy to work with in my opinion, and I like my garments to fit a little closer to the body, so I'm a knit girl. Number 3, tumble dry versus hang to dry. I'm always going to choose tumble dry. I've never had a problem with my fabric shrinking or my clothes shrinking or anything like that. I think I've only hung something twice, and other than that, my me-made garments go to the cleaners. Thanks to my husband, always fussing at me about throwing them in the laundry. So most of my things go to the cleaners. But if I have to do it myself, tumble dry. Number 4, rotary cutter versus scissors. I'm going to choose rotary cutter every time. I have a little carpal tunnel, so my trigger finger is, it acts up sometimes. Plus with the scissors, I have more jagged edges. I haven't learned how to really cut fabric well with scissors. I like the nice clean finish that the rotary cutter gives, so I'm always going to choose a rotary cutter. Topic number 3, clothing construction. Following instructions versus winging it. I follow the instructions. Number 1, because I want to make sure that I'm able to follow instructions to construct garments. Plus, I do pattern reviews here on the channel, so I want to be able to let you know if those instructions are clear or not, if there are any errors in the instructions, or it's something that you could do simpler than how they tell you. Only wing it with very basic things like t-shirts and dresses because they're pretty easy. The construction is pretty basic. Number 2, bias tape versus facings. I'm a facings girl. I've never done bias tape. I want to learn how to do it. I watched a tutorial which seemed very complicated. Then I saw a more simplified version where people just tuck the fabric in between the two layers and sew. So I don't think it's that hard, but I'm not really sure. So facings for me. Number three, serge seams versus French seams. I'll take the serge seams any day over a French seam. I mean, who wants to sew a seam twice? Nobody. I mean, unless it's something sheer and it really needs it, no, I'm a serge. But French seams do give a nice finish. I will say that I like the way it looks. I just don't want to do that all the time. Number four, button fly versus zip fly. I've never done either of the two, and I'm not sure which one I would prefer more. The zipper might be easier. I don't know. I'm still working on becoming good friends with zippers. But if it's under a fly, it's kind of hidden, so it may not, make too big of a difference on how good it looks since it will be covered. But I'm ready to give a fly a try. Hand sewn buttons versus machine sewn. I do hand sew my buttons on. I've had a fascination with buttons ever since I was younger. I even had a big collection at one time, and then at some point we moved and I lost them. I don't know what happened to them, but they just disappeared. I'm like you, Joy. When it comes to putting buttons on with the sewing machine, I am afraid that a needle may break or a button may come flying at me. Even when I just regular sew, I'm always afraid that needle might break and come flying at me. So, like I said before, personally, I think you should wear goggles when you sew, but it's just my opinion. Fusible interfacing versus sewn-in interfacing. I've only used fusible and I prefer it that way. Snip as you go versus all at once. I am trying to do better with snipping as I go. I think it's better and easier to make sure you get rid of all those threads, because sometimes if you wait to the end, you get those threads that's sticking out in weird places and it's kind of hard to really just completely cut it all the way out. So I'm working on that. Press as you go versus all at once. I do press as I go. I realize that it makes your garment look so much cleaner and so much more professional when you press as you go. Sometimes you get those seams that intersect, and if you try to do them all at the end, sometimes you can't get them right and they get a weird shape to them. So I do think it's best to press as you go. Topic number 4, sewing habits. Late night sewist versus daytime sewist. I'm a daytime sewist. I spend most of my time sewing all day Saturday and Sunday. Sewing during the week, I get as much in as I can, but the later it gets, the more tired and relaxed my body becomes, and I don't want to do anything. So if I'm gonna sew during the week after I get off work, it has to be like immediate. I can't have too much downtime in between. So I am a daytime sewist. Plus, the later it gets, the more mistakes I make. So I try to make sure that I'm wide awake and my brain is ready to take on the task. Slow and steady versus frantic. I'm a slow and steady girl, and I've learned that through experience. Frantic sewing does me no justice. Trying to sew something at the last minute for a special event or the same day of, just more mistakes because I'm rushing and I'm really trying to get it done, but I'm in a time crunch. So it doesn't help. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the fabric. I end up wasting good fabric. So I have learned to be a slow and steady sewist. Tidy as you go versus one big cleanup. One big cleanup for me. My sewing space is fairly small. It's in one corner of my bedroom. So I just make sure that I keep it neat throughout my project. If I don't finish it in one day, make sure I keep it as neat as I can. I don't put everything away every day. If I'm working on something, it's there on the table, but I keep things as tidy as possible. And then I do a giant big cleanup in preparation for the next project. I've enjoyed watching all of the other sewist videos for this or that. I hope you are enjoying these videos as well and decide to join in with us for this or that sewing edition. And if you haven't joined in yet, tag you're it.